Streaming now, this is the Wood TV Live Desk.
Teens and youth are vaping in record numbers. E-cigarettes have surpassed cigarettes as the most commonly used tobacco among youths. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm News 8 digital anchor Luke Lasser, here from the Wood TV Live Desk. Miranda is joining us. She spoke with teens, schools, and experts to learn more about the attraction to this addiction of vaping and the dangers it can pose and how parents can combat that. Also joining us, Griffin. She's an adolescent health coordinator with District Health Department 10. To the both of you, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
So Miranda, let's dive in here first with this campaign and this project here. Tell me a bit about it and just kind of generally how it came together.
Well, vaping is something that we were talking about 5 to 10 years ago. There would be that conversation about, look at these things. These are e-cigarettes. What's going on? What are we smoking in these things? And then everything sort of faded. And recently, we have seen those numbers skyrocketing with middle and high school students at alarming rates. And what we have is educators saying, okay, how are we going to handle this in schools? We've got law enforcement with what are the legal ramifications of this? And then, of course, parents concerned saying, you know what, my kid is vaping a lot of Kool-Aid flavored vape. Could it be more? What do I need to do? So we partnered with an organization called talksooner.org to really talk to the experts, talk to teens, what's happening and what do parents need to know and how can we equip them to have those conversations. So that's what we've been up to. We have a 5-part series currently airing this week during our content block called Where You Live. We've put it all together into a 30-minute digital presentation that is streaming all day today on woodtv.com. So really giving parents tools they need to have those conversations and to be informed.
And Karan, if you could tell me a little bit about your role and your specific position and how you got in touch with Maranda to help with this piece.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. So my name is Karan Griffin. I work for District Health Department number 10 in Lake County, Baldwin. And so I got involved because I work with Talk Sooner. I am on their core team and do a lot of planning and education in the classroom, in the community around substance abuse and with adolescents. And so that's how I got involved. Talk Sooner is a huge proponent of educating parents about what to look for in youth substance use and prevention and how to have those difficult conversations with their adolescents. And so I take that information, I talk to parents, I talk to community members, and I also do prevention education inside of the classroom.
So can I chime in? Because,
yeah, absolutely.
You know, I met her as the expert, but then she has a personal story of, you know, something that parents need to hear. So if you wouldn't mind, share it with Luke.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so in our small community, I sat on the school board. And, you know, when you live in small towns, you wear multiple hats. So, yes, I'm in the classroom doing prevention education. Yes, I sit on the school board. And then, yes, I am a parent and who's there and cares and willing to do whatever it takes. And so I'm sitting at a school board meeting and one of my colleagues slides over her phone and shows me kids vaping in the bathroom. And so I'm watching this video and I'm like, gosh, we've got to do something. As the prevention queen, I'm like, we've got to do something. Kids are vaping in the bathroom. And I see it's her daughter and I'm like, oh, so I really need to push education. I need to have a conversation with you. And then I see it's like a common friend between my daughter and her daughter. And then in the back of my mind, I'm going, gosh, where is my daughter during all of this? And I also go, well, at least my daughter's not in the video. And then the last clip is my daughter looking like a professional, blowing O's. And I'm mortified. And in that moment, the gavel hits and I have to switch my hat and be a board member. But my heart's beating like, oh my God, there's so much conversation that needs to be had. And so I text my husband and he reads her room. He does find a vape. And it leads to conversation. And that's probably the best thing that could have ever happened. And I believe, Miranda, you and I talked about getting caught. Sometimes is the best thing that ever happens to a young person, because then that gives a parent the opportunity to get education. Because even someone as knowledgeable as I needed to seek education. So I ran a talk sooner. I had those difficult conversations with my daughter, and now she's even able to speak to Miranda about her experience.
You know, I really love this because a lot of parents are faced with that, where it's like, you know what, I did find some product on my son or my daughter, and I just don't know what to do. And we beat ourselves up as parents and say, what did I do wrong? Or I should have noticed, or what's happening with me? And the reality is, if it happens to her and she's the expert on the topic, you've been having those conversations with your kids since they were little.
Yeah.
And kids are still curious, they're going to try, and I think grace is one of those things we want to let people know. You know, kids are going to screw up sometimes, and it's not a parent's fault, but it is a parent's obligation to get in there and have those conversations, get your kids help if they need help, and figure out what's causing this. Why are they drawn to this? And then how do we engage and find them a new path?
Absolutely. It's also about informing their friends. You know, a lot of our young people are driven by their peers, and they want to try things. In her video, she even mentioned, you know, my friends are doing it, so why not try it? So educating their friends and having those conversations with everybody in a group. One of our models in Talk Sooner is have those uncomfortable conversations in spaces like where the doors are closed and they can't leave. So in the car, you know, at the dinner table, there's always a good time to have a conversation. And so educating their friends' parents, and giving those telltale signs of what to look for and how dangerous and addictive. I don't think that folks understand. It's kind of the equivalent to what cigarettes were 20, 30 years ago, and now we hardly see anybody smoke. So it's about having that conversation like, this is still nicotine, or it could be even worse. It could be THC. It could be meth. We've even heard of folks vaping really serious drugs. And so you just hitting a friend's vape could lead to some downward spiral that you aren't even prepared for, didn't even know you were going in that direction.
So that's one of our most powerful interviews, I believe, and it's a segment that will be on TV today at 11:45 on Wood TV. It's also part of our special that is online to view. But we interview a young man from Grand Haven, and he was running track as a freshman, on track for college prep. Just an outgoing young man, had it all going. Hit a vape in the locker room, and I asked him, "What'd you think?" And he said, "I didn't like it. I loved it."
Oh, wow.
And so he spent the next 2 days trying to find his own, secured it, and from there he said he started obviously vaping the nicotine, got addicted, moved to THC, moved to pills, moved to booze, and I did an interview with him in his second round of rehab down south. He's gone for a year, and he said to think it started because of a cherry vape. And so I think that's the reality. You know, a lot of people will be like, well, you can't get addicted. That's crazy, blah, blah, blah. You know what? You can. So take the chance. Are you going to roll the dice with your child's life? Make it a point to say, you know what? You may or may not have addictive personalities. But if you do, this is what can happen. And watch this interview. I could not stop talking to this kid. He had me drawn in because I said, you know, if I were your coach or your teacher, I would have looked at you and said, this is a kid with some of the most potential I've seen in a long time. And then to think it's gone. And he said, I went off the rails. And he's like, I don't know. I'm gone for a year. I never graduated. I never got to college. I never did anything because that became the most important thing in my life. And it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Miranda, would you say that was the most influential story of the stories that you had?
Absolutely. You know, just from a perspective, because we do a lot of this work. You know, we see a lot of things. I talked to a lot of teens. That was the other thing that was amazing to me. We went to 7 counties. We talked to about 24 people. And the number one thing kids are telling me is, Miranda, you need to come to my school, middle school, and try to go to the bathroom during passing time. Because you can't walk into a bathroom without someone pressuring you to hit a vape. And if you don't, you're looked at as an outsider. You're the kid who isn't cool. And so a lot of kids have just stopped using the bathroom during the school day. I'm like, okay, someone has to get control here. But then you talk to the educators and they're like, we can't monitor every bathroom, every break. We're at a loss. So it really is a relationship between parents and schools to say, you know, adults, do what you want. If you want a vape or whatever you do, that's cool. But you know what? A minor is a minor. And, you know, you should not be buying the product for your kids. You should not be fighting the school district on this. Come alongside and partner up because this is about your kids' future.
You know, Karan, you mentioned about having conversations with your children. Run me through, say you find a vape in your child's room, in their purse, in their car, something like that. What's step one? What is the first step? You find it. Obviously, you're maybe angry a little bit and you're confused. My kid wouldn't be doing this. How do you have that conversation?
I think it starts with, as a parent, checking your own feelings and then trying to say, okay, I don't want to push my kid so far that they feel like they have to do it again, or I cause them so much stress that they feel that they need this vice. So it's checking yourself, checking your own feelings, and then trying to get to the root cause. I'm really big on root causes, but why? But why now? But why here? And what's going on with you that you felt the need to de-stress yourself? Because really that's what they're looking at nicotine for. Or are you just trying to be cool? Like, let's get to the why. And then we can work from there. There's always a solution. There's always a way to talk to our kids. And then again, using those tools, those resources like Talk Sooner to break down how to have this conversation and then what to do and how far do we need to go. Have you been doing this for a long time? Do you feel like you have to do this? Or was it just for fun? If could you walk away from it today, or do we need to take further steps? So those are some of the starting points, of the jump off points. And fortunately, it wasn't a good experience for my daughter, and she was able to say, no, thank you. But having those relationships with your kids, and then knowing that at any moment, mom can come into the school, because I do have that relationship with the school. I do have that relationship with teachers. I will walk through the building, and at any point in time, I could be present. And so just making sure that your kids understand that I care, I'm there, and I'm willing to work with you to make sure that you don't continue to make poor choices.
Miranda, let's take a step before that even. In the stories that you did cover throughout this, how were they getting a hold of it? Was it all through their peers? Just how did they end up in the pockets of these kids?
You know, that's such a good question, because I'm like, man, when you're 11 years old, you don't have access to anything. But
Hearing middle schoolers, I mean, would an 11-year-old?
It's alarming.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have the conversation with an 8th grader, and they'll tell you they can hook you up with whatever you need. Just tell them. And I'm like, where are you getting this stuff? And it comes from a variety of sources. We actually interviewed a police officer from Mason County who works in the schools, and he had confiscated 9 vape pens that were already used, that a very creative 9th grader picked up outside bars, found them in his parents' wastebaskets. He rewired them and was selling them back to the middle schoolers. Now, there's a variety of levels of concern on that one. If you think about, we were just in the middle of a pandemic. Now we've got kids sharing these vape products. Who knows what? I mean, I'm sure he's not, disinfecting them before he's selling them. The dangers of wiring that thing in your basement. You're working with products, you have no idea what you're doing, and then reselling it. And if this kid can get these things back going, people who want to harm our kids or get them addicted to heavier products can easily put other things inside those vapes, and kids don't know what they're buying. They're not asking questions, they're just taking a hit. And so I think it's one of those things where you're like, how can that be? The other place that shocked me, I went into a couple of vape stores and just started conversation with people, and without hesitation, parents were telling me they were buying them for their kids. Really? It was a matter of the first one, a mom was buying for her 16-year-old, and she said, my daughter has anxiety. This is the only way she can manage it, so I buy for her. And I'm like, whoa, there are alternatives for that. And as we're finishing our conversation, another mom chimes in, and her 13-year-old is vaping, and mom's buying for her because their daughter has chronic pain, and it helps her manage her pain. So what I'm seeing is there are so many myths surrounding the benefits, quote unquote, of vaping, and parents are believing them. And vaping nicotine, you can help me out here. Vaping nicotine does not manage your stress and anxiety. It increases your stress and anxiety.
And actually, you have to hit it more. So with a cigarette, you maybe have 4 or 5 minutes of that pleasure, and then you're done, and that may last, depending on the smoker, half hour, 45 minutes. Well, Well, with a vape, they're constantly taking a puff. And depending on how deep of a pull you take, I mean, the level of nicotine changes with every person. So it could be constant that and you can have them inside. They're easy to conceal. It vaporizes very quick, so it's not heavy on you like a cigarette. So it's very easy to conceal and very easy to take in at any given time.
I think what's interesting, it's funny almost how history repeats itself with these myths that we were told in the 50s with cigarettes.
Yeah.
And now here we are, modern day, and young people are being told about the myths with these vapes as well.
You know, I would encourage any parent to sit down with your child and say, let's look at TikTok real quick. And go ahead and search a hashtag. Search vaping, search light up vapes, search anything, and you will be shocked, adults, at what young people are doing, the influences and what your kids are watching, the way it is packaged and marketed and sold. I mean, we're doing online contesting from experts showing you vaping products and saying my favorite is lemon custard, so I'm keeping this one for myself, but I'm giving away these 30 other flavors, and you can just click the link in my bio and go ahead and register to win. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is illegal. First of all, you're a minor, and now you're selling product and giving it away online. I mean, crazy stuff. And it is hard to watch. It's hard to think about. This is, you know, your kid is exposed to it. But man, get in the game. Get your head in the game so that you can have intelligent conversations. Not to bust your kids, but to protect your kids. Let's do what we can for them. It's easy to bury our heads in the sand and say, not mine. But the reality is it could be, or it could be one of your kids' friends. And you could be the one adult who could help them and talk them through.
You know, I do have another question, Karan, for you. If you were to come across a parent who was buying these products for their kid, citing anxiety or pain or something like that, what are some of the alternatives?
So some of the alternatives is to, number one, give parents facts. Risk factor for vape is very low amongst parents, and unfortunately even so is marijuana. And so I've had to find myself giving conversation about brain development, about adolescent growth, and then follow it up with statistics on children's ability to cope with stress, children's ability to successfully finish high school, children's ability to be able to get a job and earn a living wage. Like, those are some of the things that we have to kind of talk them through to get a larger picture that it's not just this moment. We need to find alternative ways, because this is the long-term outcome of continuing to utilize these different products.
Maranda, if you could share any other details that you'd like about your series here, or your series special.
It's a good question. Yeah. So this week we are doing a 5-part series. So 2 of them have already run on TV, and then today really want folks to watch this one at 11:45 to 11:50. Maranda, Where You Live. It's a special edition. You'll see Talk Sooner come up, and this is a portion of the interview with the young man from Grand Haven. And we did the interview via Zoom. I want people to watch it because it is compelling, and you may have a million arguments about why vaping isn't dangerous, whatever it might be, but when you hear this kid talk, he's speaking truth, he's speaking his own personal reality, and it's something powerful. That's going to be on TV, and then again on Thursday and Friday we have 2 more of those segments. But today is the day, 420. We want to ignite conversation, and so what we've done is taken all 5 of those segments, pushed them together, and made a 30-minute presentation that you can watch anytime today till midnight tonight at woodtv.com. And I just was talking with my friend Emily Leonard, who has some middle school kids, and she's like, would you recommend I watch this with my kids? And I'm like, yes. Sit down, watch it with your kids, then click through the resources on our website, and it gives you all the stuff that the Talk Sooner teams have been working on, ways to start conversations. Take a look at what these products look like. Show your kids. Go through and say, there's like 59 different kinds of vaping products that you have access to at your local convenience store, and I want you to see every one of them so you're not caught off guard. It gives you the lingo kids are using, everything you need to know. Check it out. Today's the day. It's, people celebrate 420. Well, you can celebrate it in your house by respecting the reality that kids are exposed to so much, and we need to do our part.
Absolutely.
And ladies and gentlemen, attached to this stream, it'll take you over to woodtv.com. We have that story there. We have that presentation, the whole website there linked where you're able to watch it there. Miranda, Cron, anything else that you guys would like to put out there or add?
I just want to thank Karan for being so brave. It's one thing when we're in a position where people see you as the expert, and then to be able to bring in your personal story and say, you know what, we're not immune. That just gives power to your message. And so that you and your daughter have shared your journey, you're part of our series. I just so appreciate it. And big shout out to the 7 counties who are all participating in this. To think we have 7 counties here in West Michigan that care and love our kids so much that they're putting this together. Talk sooner, you rock.
Yes. So my message is clear. Talk early, talk often, talk sooner. The resources are on the website. There's plentiful information there. And then if you get an opportunity, partner with prevention folks in your community to see what you can do to help spread a positive message around these substances so that we keep all of our kids off of them.
Ladies, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Folks, this has been a look at the Wood TV Live Desk. I'm News 8 digital anchor Luke Laster. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you around.